Hey everybody, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed AF. Yes, the online-only version that is truly unfiltered, uncensored, and unleashed. And we are here. It is Sunday, August 17, 2025. Jenny is with me, of course. Hello.
Greetings.
You are not at the news table. That's for the
I
radio
am
show,
not
of
at the
course.
news table. I am at my table.
You're at your
my
table,
creative
yes.
space.
That's right. That's right. So welcome, everybody. A couple of things we want to talk about. Well, there's a big subject that we're going to get into in a few minutes, but we also, for those who do not know, Jenny, you have this article that has been published on Common Dreams.
Yes, my first byline on Common Dreams. So I'm very excited about that. Unfortunately, it was a topic that I didn't ever expect I was going to have to deal with face to face. I think are you there? Yes, there it is.
Yeah, I was grabbing an image of the article.
Yes. This is something I never thought honestly, I never thought that I would ever be face to face with Nazis like this, doing the whole salute and everything. But yeah, that happened right here in Concord, New Hampshire. And they came to intimidate us. We had planned a protest. I volunteered to help out. I was not one of the main organizers. The organizing group was actually 5051, the local New Hampshire group here. And they had planned this protest, got permits, the whole 9 yards. So we showed up to when we were supposed to, and we were starting to set things up for the rally that was supposed to happen like in about an hour or so after we'd gotten there. And no sooner did we show up and start unloading the cars did not, these guys march in their red shirts, which on the back apparently says, forgive me, Blood Tribe, black pants, red shirts, all of their faces completely covered. Can't see them, except for the founder guy. He's the only one that didn't have his face covered. That's the bald guy sitting there with the tattoos going down his face. And they started yelling hate with a megaphone. It said something like, the only thing good about New Hampshire's white people. It's the only thing good. And they were saying just nasty, nasty stuff. And it was like, we didn't engage them, but obviously we're not going to have this going on. So one of the organizers actually got the idea. She pulled her phone out and she started playing, there's a song about killing Nazis. So she played that. She played They Not Like Us. That was fun to sing along to. Then she played, I got to do that once before in DC. They played that and we were like pointing at them. You're not like us, which we did to these guys. You're not like us. We were not afraid of them. And they're basically there. They're trying to intimidate us and they're also trying to recruit. They are on they want more people in their ranks, more white men in their ranks specifically. They had the whole Nazi flag. And then she also played Martin Luther King. So she put her phone in front of a megaphone. And then I had my own amplifier. So I put that in front of the megaphone so we could amplify it even more. And it made it very loud and kind of distorted and just literally drowned them out. Whatever the dude was saying in the megaphone wasn't getting very far because nobody could hear them. We were literally drowning them out, which was excellent. Not engaging is important because that's what they want. Mm-hmm. They want you to engage. They want to incite something. So you can't fall prey to that no matter how angry they make you, no matter what horrendous things they say about our fellow human beings. You can't go there. You just can't. So when they weren't getting obviously heard, they decided to line up because they weren't there for very long, mind you. I'm serious. We really drowned them out. And so they formed a line. So they were 2 by 2. And then they started a military march out of the state capitol, down the path, under the arches, out onto the main street, chanting, saying hateful things, trying to be like all military-esque. Although it was funny because when they first started trying to do their little military-esque moves, one of them went in the completely opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which was rather amusing. So they lined up 2 by 2 and they're trying to, they're shouting their hate and their photographers like trying to camera us as if that's going to be something intimidating. And I just pushed my camera right into his face as he was pushing it into mine. Not like literally. We weren't literally. Like we kind of he stepped towards me, I stepped towards him, and then he walked off. But people were yelling at him, telling him to get out. None of these people are from here, by the way. They're not from New Hampshire. They came from other places. They literally marched there and did their hateful yelling and crap all the way down Main Street for a few blocks to where they had parked a U-Haul. But when they got about almost to where the U-Haul was, there was an altercation with a person who does live here. And I saw a video that showed 4 of them around this one man. And one of them punched that man in his back like 4 times. Another one of them pepper sprayed this man. And then they ran to their little U-Haul and jumped in the back of it. Police were there and drove off. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a little flabbergasted that the police let these people climb into a U-Haul and drive off. Because I don't know, call me crazy, but I think if maybe they were a different group, or maybe if their tone was different, the cops would have been like, no, you don't get to drive off with human beings in the back of a U-Haul. That's illegal. But apparently in this instance, no. Maybe now it's possible the cops' thinking was, you know what? Let's just get them the hell out of here. So there's nothing more going on. Better to get them out of the situation. Maybe that was the case. However, there was an assault, and I want to know why they haven't been accountable for that. My understanding is that it is under investigation. I don't know enough more. I don't know enough to say anything more about the legal aspect of it. But as a citizen of New Hampshire, I served 2 terms in that house. And New Hampshire State House is the oldest state house in the country that still operates in its original chambers. Like our House and Senate still meet in the same exact place they did when the building was built, before the country was even a country, really, in a sense, when and there's a huge history with France and everything. There's really a rich history in New Hampshire when it comes to that stuff. And one of the things about New Hampshire is that we pride ourselves on being a place that everybody has a right to be heard. You'll hear that said in the New Hampshire House. If there starts to get too loud or something like that, the chair will say the member has a right to be heard. So do the people. And the people have a right to be heard. These guys have a right to free speech. They expressed it. We didn't inhibit that. We have the right of free speech to drown out hate. And that is how we chose to deal with it. And I think it was a very appropriate way. And I absolutely commend everybody. That was an excellent event. In the end, we had a wonderful protest. We had an excellent protest, and they didn't achieve their goal.
We had to mention that picture is courtesy of Andrew Voorhees, by the way, our friend Andrew Voorhees, who was recently with us on the Hanging Left podcast and on Matt Connarton Unleashed as well, on the radio version that we do on Saturdays at WMNH, and talking about the picture. And so they used his picture in the article.
He is a photojournalist, and he took some excellent photographs, and I've seen other pieces of his work. And he is an excellent photographer. Super happy to have met him and now have him among our ranks. Young man with a head on his shoulders. It's very good. He's very compassionate, and he wants to help make sure that he records what's going on, that nothing is done in the dark. And that's another big thing about New Hampshire. Politics shouldn't be in the dark. We're the only, I don't know if we're the only state, but I know we're rare in the sense that any bill that's introduced in the state of New Hampshire will go all the way through the process and will get a vote by the entire body. There's no such thing as a pocket veto. There's no such thing as a committee kill in that regard. Everything goes to the floor for a vote. So New Hampshire has a unique perspective in that way, and I like it, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And I'm proud of the way the people of New Hampshire responded to these fools. And they all have their heads covered in these black socks.
Yeah.
Like they look like, can you look at these guys? They look like they're trying to rob a bank or something. And they all have matching shades on.
Well, they hide their identities because they don't want to get
black gloves. Oh, they don't want anybody to know what they really think at work. Why not? Why not? Why aren't you proud of your belief? Why do you hide it? That's my question.
Well, that feeds into their victimhood, though. Because you'll often hear people who have their point of view. They'll talk about, and even people who don't have their point of view to that extreme talk about this. There's a lot of white victimhood. Oh, I as a white person, I'm so put upon. Poor me. Oh, there's a lot of that in modern conservatism. So it feeds into that to them, because for them to take it to this extreme, they're the ultimate victims, right? Because that's what's really underneath this is a lot of weak, they think they're strong and powerful because they're standing up against diversity and whatever, but they're actually very weak. These are the weakest of the weak, these people who hide their identities and spread hate because it comes from a place of deep, deep insecurity. They feel threatened. They feel threatened living in a world that is not some sort of ethno state where everyone doesn't look and think and act exactly and speak exactly like them. They feel threatened by that. So this is their way of lashing out, and it's weakness at its absolute most pathetic degree. These people are beyond pathetic.
But in that same vein, remember, some of these people have money behind them, and those same people are doing things like doing gene editing to have whiter babies, to have athletic babies. These are things that they are backing 100%. That's something that should concern us. That's something that we should worry about, I believe. I worry about Robert Kennedy being in charge of our nation's healthcare in Medicare, and he wants to put a data registry together of all autistic Americans. He believes they should all be in a database.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to have, a database. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bizarre.
And the thing, I always wonder with these people, and I'd love to know what their answer would be to me. When they do their ancestry and that pie chart comes up and you're a mutt, because, you know, you're a little Scottish, a little Welsh, maybe a little Italian, maybe you're a mutt. You're genetically a mutt because your pie has got plenty of color.
The vast majority of people, I believe this firmly, the vast majority of people in the United States who are white are most likely not as white as they think that they are.
Correct.
And
but the thing that, from my perspective, as an Ashkenazi Jew, now go look at some of the people in my family tree and their pie chart on Ancestry. It's one color. It's one color. So if you want to get down to genetic purity, right? Is it the pie chart that's one color, or is it the pie chart that's a little purple, a little green, a little blue, a little gray, a little this, a little Spanish, a little that? Because that's what their pie charts look like.
Well, the other thing too is nobody really mentions this part, but this is another reason why these people are so dumb, and they're just shoveling shit against the tide, because obviously you can't stop diversity. What you also cannot stop genetically is, you know, sometimes they've even used the phrase, like people like Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham, for example, have even gone as far as using the phrase the browning of America. What you can't stop it, but what you also cannot stop is in a broader sense, the browning of the global population. Here's the thing, and this is what these people don't get. There is an inevitability. This is just a simple fact. Humanity as a whole over time, you know, and we won't see it. It'll be long after we're gone. But over time, the human race is going to continue to get darker and darker overall in a broad sense. You can't stop it. The reason being, genetically, whiteness is a recessive trait. Light skin is a recessive trait. Dark skin is a dominant trait. So that is why when two people have a child, typically, you know, if one of them is white and one of them is black, you know, the child is going to have darker skin. The white ethno-state that these people fantasize about, it's never going to happen, not just because of diversity, but because just genetically the global population is going to get darker over time. So again, everything that these people put their energy into is so, not only is it harmful and destructive and hateful, it's completely pointless. Point to any of it. It's so bizarre.
I'm going to completely disagree with you in an aspect that I believe they do know it. They do see it. And that's exactly what they're trying to stop.
Well, no, I agree with you. That is what they're trying to stop. But I don't think they. But what I'm saying though is
they're going to be able to stop it either. But
what I'm saying is they're too dumb to realize you cannot possibly. Like I said, shoveling shit against the tide. You can't stop the ocean. You can't stop, you know, the genetic inevitability of what is already happening, what has been happening, what will continue to happen. They're so just consumed with their own hate. They can't think logically and realize not only is what they're doing hateful, but it's also completely pointless. The pointlessness of it, they're oblivious to it. And, you know, and
from our perspective, absolutely. But yeah. I think that if they would be happy to have a, you know, like we'll talk about that. Actually, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that because we're going to talk about some of that stuff a little bit later. But now put the fact that this is what's going on and now it's in government. Robert Kennedy was very clear with his beliefs that the COVID-19 was bioengineered to kill everybody but Jewish people and the Chinese. So,
yeah.
And then he went further to state that vaccine mandates are worse than Anne Frank's persecution.
I know.
And I can give you the citations. We can, actually the citations are in my article if you want to go look at it.
Yeah.
On Common Dreams. If you go to Common Dreams, you'll see my article there. And you can go to the links and you can see the information to back it up that these facts that I'm telling you are real and true. The video of RFK Jr., he's at a dinner or so he's sitting at a table with a group of people, and he's very clear in that belief. Yeah. And these are the people that are now running the country and are in very key position. Yeah. And we should be very concerned about that. And I'm very concerned about anybody who would say these are the same Nazis. And I'm not calling them Nazis, by the way, because they are Nazis. And they are literal Nazis. Like, look at the picture, ask them yourselves. They're Nazis.
Yeah, they were doing the Steve Kyle and everything. Yeah,
I had somebody attack me for saying that.
Oh, of course.
And I just want to be very clear that they were Nazis.
Well, yeah. I mean, anytime you post anything like that, there's always going to be people who just, I make fun of them. I say, because they'll tell you, oh no, that's a hateful ideology and I don't agree with it, and they're bad people, and then they go and then they see on social media, they'll say, yeah, no, don't, I hate Nazis, they're terrible. Wait a minute. Nazis are being criticized on social media. Oh shit, I got to get on there and defend these Nazis. It's like, what do oh, I don't agree with them, but I don't think they should be criticized for any reason. I got to defend these Nazis.
So, we have a president who said they're very fine people. And these are the same people who march through the streets of Charlottesville chanting, Jews will not replace us. Matter of fact, if you watch the video of that, there is a man that will show up in that video, and his nickname is the Crying Nazi.
Oh, yeah, Christopher Cantwell.
He is from New Hampshire.
Our New Hampshire friends are quite familiar with Christopher Cantwell, yes.
Yes, he was from New Hampshire. He's actually in federal prison for something entirely different, I think.
Oh, is he? He fell off my radar.
I think he ended up in jail, but don't quote me on that part. But the video literally saying Jews will not replace us, the very fine people that Trump was referring to, and there's the guy. So, forgive me if I'm a bit concerned that the president of the United States thinks that people who say Jews should not replace us and thinks that I should, not exist in this world are very fine people, and that the Secretary of Health and Human Services buys into this. So can you blame me for having some concerns when Nazis start showing up in broad daylight in front of our state house, marching down the street, and then assault somebody in broad daylight, and then they climb into the back of a truck, drive off?
Yeah.
Can you, and then we got now, okay, so add to that pie, this German-esque pie of things that are piling up, the fact that we now have an executive order that says that you can take people and put them in jail for being homeless, take people and force them into a mental health facility. And even if they really do need mental health, if there's no bed, then put them in jail and hold them indefinitely. That's a thing now. Can we take anything more out of the German playbook? We're imprisoning people for being homeless. We're reinstitutionalizing people who have mental health issues rather than actually getting them the health care they need.
To be fair, criminalizing poverty is not new. It's just being taken to a new extreme. But it's not new.
Oh, I know. You're right.
Many cities have found ways to punish people for being poor.
Our own city here in Manchester, if you get caught being homeless on a park with a tent or looking like you're sleeping there, they can give you a ticket now. Because, being homeless and isn't obvious you don't have money bad enough, I'm not going to give you a ticket. Then when you don't pay your ticket, you start racking up stuff for that. So then you can get a bench warrant because you didn't pay your ticket. So now you get arrested the next time you're caught being homeless. And that's right here in our city. That already exists. That already exists right here in our city. So this is a nationwide decree to jail people who are homeless and who have mental health issues or force them into a institution.
I gotta say something about this that nobody ever brings up, but this is well documented. I don't know why. This is one of those things that nobody ever brings up, and I don't know why. But I like to say this whenever this subject comes up for people who don't know. There is a large percentage, I mean, estimates vary, but there is a large percentage of homeless people in this country, and wherever you're watching or listening to this in your city or here in Manchester where we are, there's a percentage of homeless people who are veterans. Why do I mention that? Because the Veterans Administration, while it does very well for some people, a lot of people fall through the cracks. A lot of people end up homeless because they have to take pain medication that they get through the VA because of what happened to them during their military service, serving our country. And then one day they get cut off and they have to resort to street drugs, and it becomes, and they just fall down the hole, and then they wind up homeless.
Add to that the fact that they've also recently cut veteran services on mental health, and they've literally taken mental health clinicians and put them in a telemarketing like room where they're all talking to clients openly in this room, like telemarketers do.
But I'm bringing this up for a very specific reason, because there's a particular look, people who like to bash homeless people, who like to make fun of them, who like to talk about them as though they're trash that just needs to be swept away somewhere. They tend to be of a certain political ideology, right? You don't hear liberals talking that way, but the same people who are the cruelest in their condemnation of people who are homeless are typically the same people who like to wrap themselves in the flag, who like to act like they're more patriotic than the rest of us, and who love to talk about how important it is to honor and support and take care of veterans. So I want the people who do that. I want the people who think it's cool to kick, hopefully not literally, but figuratively, or perhaps they fantasize about kicking them literally, homeless people when they're down. Just understand something. You might be talking about a veteran when you do that. So anyone who thinks it's cool to be assholes to homeless people, just understand you might be assholes to people who served their country, and then because we have a long history of discarding people when they leave the military and not giving them the help and support that they need. And that is well documented. You can trace that all the way back to World War I, when our veterans were not given things and support and help that they were promised. So just understand, if you're a conservative who loves to wrap yourself in the flag and talk about how veterans are so important because the military is so important and we need to honor our veterans, and you would also just as soon spit on a homeless person as even acknowledge their existence or give them any sort of dignity, understand that you've got a conflict happening there, because that might very well be a veteran that you're doing that to. And I will say this every single time this subject comes up, because nobody ever says it, and I don't know why, but a lot of homeless people are veterans who fell through the cracks. So, people who just mistreat them, I understand if you don't want to give them money. I don't give them money. Okay. I don't have a lot of extra money to just be given out to people, but I would never disrespect a homeless person. I would never talk down to them. I would never be mean to them. Nothing like that. Unless they came at me for a reason. Right. They're a human being. Number one, they're a human being.
How old they are.
And you don't know their story. You don't know how they got there. You don't know what happened to them. But part of that, too, is also, just so you know, conservatives who think it's cool to go around shitting on homeless people, that homeless person that you think is a piece of shit, they might be a veteran who fell through the cracks. And we all know veterans who fell through the cracks. So just something to consider.
Yeah. And then when I was an EMT, I can tell you I responded to a number of veterans who needed help and who fell through the cracks and who the VA didn't take care of. And they should have never ended up with me because they weren't being taken care of right by the VA.
Yeah.
But now put that into perspective too, even just locally right here, right? When the rents went crazy, we saw a 50% increase in homelessness in 1 year, but people's rent went up, not $50 or even $100. They went up $200, $300, $400, $500 all at once.
Yes.
That's a whole new paycheck. How do you keep your home?
Right. And
when
that's why
you only got the one or two jobs you're already working. You can't just make the money come out of thin air. You got to come from somewhere. Like when it happened with us, I cut my infusions. I started rationing my care, but I was lucky enough to be able to do that. Right. Like,
Yeah.
I was lucky that I could do that and not end up homeless, because I was scared that's where we were going to go. And that happened to so many people.
Yeah.
And it's happening more and more every day, because you look at everything that's getting built up, these apartments all across the country. I don't care where you live. Where my parents are, same thing. These apartments that are getting built are so expensive that the average person can't necessarily afford it. And more people are ending up homeless every single day. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't have a job and a paycheck, because they can't afford to actually live someplace.
Well, we need, by the way, hello to Miriam Banish, who joins us online. Hi, Miriam. We need to do.
I see Isaac in there too.
Whatever it takes for a national push for, and it's probably never going to happen, but whatever it takes for a tremendous national push for more affordable housing, I say, offer the biggest tax break in the world to anyone who wants to build an apartment complex that is for affordable working class people.
Really affordable.
Just do it. Just do whatever it takes, because this is a problem that's been building up. And you're right. And homelessness is
lack of housing knows this.
Yeah, homelessness has been on a huge increase across the country. So, whatever you have to do, to fix it. And, the Republican Party is never going to do it because they don't give a shit. And the Democratic Party is too incompetent to have even bothered to have seen this coming. So they've not done a damn thing about it either.
No, what they're doing is actually increasing more the wage gap between the average working family and these one percenters. All the tax cuts for people who make a ton of money are still in effect.
Yeah.
But the subsidies that were going to the exchange so people could afford health insurance, instead of it being $800, $900, $1,000 a month for health insurance, go to the exchange and be able to get it for maybe $100 because of a subsidy. Those are not getting renewed. That's gone. Mm-hmm. So next year, you might see up to a 50% increase in your health care premium just to have health insurance off the exchange. That they're doing to us. The working people are paying more taxes than these rich fucks ever pay.
Yeah, of course.
And there's so many of them. And Trump even said, use the loopholes. If it's there, he's going to jump through it. Years ago, remember he said that. And all they're doing is making that even worse, right? We're not investing in housing. We're not investing in transportation. We're not investing in our own infrastructure. We're building concentration camps. We're spending millions of dollars flying people out of this country who were working hard, paying taxes. They literally took an ice cream man out of his truck, who was the ice cream man of this community for over 20 some odd years, didn't have a single solitary run-in with the police ever, was here legally, had permission to work because he paid taxes, had his green card and everything. And that's the thing that I feel like people don't necessarily grasp. The people that are getting kicked out of this country aren't the worst of the worst. They're not criminals that are on the lam hiding, because they're literally taking people away and saying, we're revoking your green card.
We're changing the rules.
And they're even talking, we're going to revoke your naturalized citizenship.
Right. They're changing the rules in the middle of the game just to get people out, because they know that the base loves that.
An American citizen is not necessarily something you get to keep.
Yeah.
You can lose it on a whim of a signature, not a legislative action, not something that went through the system through Congress like it's supposed to in a democracy, but by a signature.
Well, fortunately, it does look like, in terms of ending birthright citizenship, it looks like Trump has hit a wall as far as that goes. But hopefully
that would make him not a citizen. His parents were immigrants. That would make him not a citizen. He's first generation.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh. Yes. His mother, I think, was born in Scotland. Yeah, he was born here, not his parent.
Well, the rules wouldn't apply to him anyway, because MAGA thinks he was chosen by God.
We're not going to raise the minimum wage. What's it at, 7? I think federal minimum.
It's been at $7.25 for as long as I can remember.
$7.25 is the minimum that you can pay somebody. So you can't make enough money to actually rent an apartment, or if you can rent an apartment, you can't eat. Nobody can live on $7.25. And when you allow somebody who makes $25 million a year to pay his worker $7 and then bitch because his worker needs food stamps so they can actually have some food, and they're on a healthcare subsidy. Why? because the rich prick won't pay him a livable wage.
Yeah.
And that all of this plays in. All of this plays in. I mean, to bring it back to where we were, since I know we're going to move on to something else, but, you know, this call to make America great again is absolutely un-American. It's absolutely un-American. And it encourages people like these blood tribe Nazis to show up at capitals like ours and try to intimidate people and to assault somebody down the street and spray somebody with pepper spray. That's what they do.
Right.
And they're going to win unless all of us stand up. And, you know, that's my call to action. I need you to join me. I can't do this on my own. It's going to take all of us to save our democracy at this point and to make sure that people like these don't win in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Oh, let's see. Cyclone Descent joins us in the chat room and says, good afternoon, hashtag Matt and hashtag Jen. We are a singing group quartet, man band quintet. I assume they're from Greensboro, North Carolina.
I think you might be right.
I see Isaac Banks in there as well. Yes.
Hi, Isaac.
All righty. We just heard about what's going on. This Trump dude, we say. Yes. We've missed our friends in Greensboro.
It's been a bit. Hey,
well, they're usually there. They're usually there on Saturday mornings during the radio show, but we just don't get to their comments. But very good. Very good. So the other the big thing that we wanted to discuss today, this would be the main event, as we say on the Tough Bumps podcast, which I'm going to be doing with Eric later.
Yeah.
Doug Wilson, this guy who I didn't even really know about until recently, but apparently he is Pete.
You know what?
Pete Hegseth. What's that?
You know why? Because you're not a woman.
Well, Pete Hegseth, who is of course our Secretary of Defense, is a member of Doug Wilson's church, and I guess recently shared out. I should grab the video here of we could play the AP story.
The video included its pastors arguing women should not have the right to vote.
I was very grateful to him for doing that. He didn't just repost it like, well, here's an interesting thing that these weird people are doing. He reposted it, and he himself said, all of Christ for all of life, which is the tagline that we use. So he.
Now, by the way, if Pete Hegseth had said, this is an interesting thing that these weird people are doing, that would have been appropriate, but he did not say that. He seems to be expressing support for Pastor Wilson. And again, what's that?
It's more than that.
More than that, yeah.
That statement that he made.
Yeah.
That statement is not just like something he's pulling out of thin air. That statement refers to the belief that first we get the Christian nation, then we get the Christian continent, then we go for the world. They want a Christian world. The ultimate end game is to convert everybody.
Right. A little more.
I'm not making that up.
Reposting it and saying amen at some level.
Pastor Doug Wilson, the network's co-founder, is no stranger to controversy, with his church's embrace of patriarchy and Christian nationalism. They are a network of over 130 churches and have recently opened a new church in Washington, D.C., with Hegseth attending its first Sunday service.
This is the first time we've had connections with as many people in national government as we do now. But this is not an ecclesiastical lobbying effort where we're trying to meet important people. We're trying to give some of these people an opportunity to meet with God.
I would like a chance to meet with God. I mean, I have questions. Like, I've always wondered, what does he look like? And does he have a long white beard?
My wife votes. My daughters vote. If people rush to conclusions from what they heard on the CNN piece, that's a sad thing. At the same time, I think that the 19th Amendment was a bad idea, and I had no problem with how Pastor Jared answered the question. I would support that. Our issue is not a problem with the enfranchisement of women. Our problem is with the disenfranchisement of the household.
Now, just to clarify what he means, his position and the position of the church is that there should be one vote per household. And of course, the person casting the vote would be the head of the household. And I think we all know when we refer to the head of the household, we know who Pastor Wilson has in mind, right?
Men.
That's right. That's
not
right.
too clear.
Wilson would prefer
Only
the U.S.
men.
follow his church's.
Our church elections, households vote, and that includes some women as heads of households. But ordinarily, when you have a conservative Christian family, the head of the household is the husband and father, and he's the one who casts the vote. But he's voting on behalf of the whole household. The issue is not keeping females from voting. The issue for us is we want households to have a say.
There is a little bit of a loophole in there for him because, because I think in a separate piece in a longer video, or it might even been because we did watch the piece on CNN, which, by the way, Doug Wilson did acknowledge that he thought it was fair. He did
applauded
that it was fair. Yeah, it was fair and balanced because they did present all sides. But the loophole being, see, he can say you're not saying we oppose women voting because he sort of acknowledges that not every household, so for example, if you have a household where there's a mom, but the father has passed away, for example.
That's what he said. If you're a widow, you get to vote.
So that's why he gets to say that. That's why he can say, well, we're not opposed to women voting. What's that?
There's no divorce in that kind of Christianity.
Well, that's true. But if somebody died, if
you watch the full CNN, and they also have an extended version, if you go on YouTube, there's the full 30-minute version that has all, but they interview a couple of the heads of his church, and they reiterate the belief that men are in charge, women are subservient. And if that's not enough for you to believe it, they then go to a couple, and the woman openly says, I am subservient to him, that she's submissive. She used the word submissive, that she's submissive to him. Yeah. And that is part of the control and this crazy Christianity, right? Where as a woman, you are less than the man. You're not as smart as the man. God didn't build you to carry this load, this weight. Let your husband handle the household difficulty things. Keep the house, you raise the kid, but you don't make decisions. You can have an opinion, but the ultimate decision is made by the man.
Right.
As a woman, I was once married for a very long time. And there was a time in my life when I had converted to Christianity and believed in a very strict Christianity.
In a strict version of it. We should just be clear, just to be fair. I don't think a majority of Christians actually would follow what Doug Wilson is saying. But Pete said, but a high-ranking member of our government does, and that's why we're talking about this.
Exactly. Yeah, because I want people to, like, this is it's like getting infected with something, right? And you, as a woman, you firmly believe that you're doing what God is telling you to do, and you want to go to heaven, right? So I believed that if I wasn't a godly woman, I wouldn't get to see the people that I loved again. I was very attached to that idea of being able to see the people that I loved who died. And the idea of that not being real was so devastating to me that the first time somebody really challenged me on it, I collapsed and just bawled my eyes out. And it was like, but if you're right, there's nothing. If I'm right, I get to be with the people I love.
Yeah.
So any suffering that I am enduring in this world is required of me to get the reward of going to heaven. So whenever my husband had done or said or made certain rules or whatever that I followed, that's where it was coming from. And it was a very, very strong, I was a Sunday school teacher. We went to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
I read the Bible. I had a women's study guides. I can remember I would volunteer at the Christian camps because I was an EMT. I would volunteer to be part of their medical staff. And I would bawl my eyes out tearing over these books. Why don't I get it why can't I feel it like everybody else?
Yeah.
Why is it
because you wanted to believe, but it's hard to yourself to believe.
But why can't I feel what everybody else does? Why? And it's because there's something wrong with me, right? And that's powerful. That's the most powerful thing in the world when you think about it. Like, if you upset this God, then you're going to burn in everlasting hell. You'll never see the people you love again. And I couldn't live with that at the time.
Right.
And I firmly believed that I may not know and understand why these things are written, but God has a reason. Right?
Right. Well, they have, the Lord works in mysterious ways, which is kind of a catch-all explanation for everything, right?
This belief system exists in different ways. But now this situation has catapulted it. This came out of a belief in like Calvinism. And remember now, Doug created this shit. He's the founder of this. This is his own faith that he created within this church. And now he's got other locations, and they just opened one in DC.
Yeah.
To have one near the Capitol, and Hegseth has already gone there to go to church.
Hegseth is all in with that church, yeah.
And Doug is very clear that the 19th Amendment, which is the woman's right to vote, should be repealed. Women should not have the right to vote. He says that it was a mistake to have ever given the woman the right to vote. So put the religion, those beliefs, and now put this stuff stacking up, right? We're going to get rid of women's rights. Men are going to rule the world. Only men in leadership. That's a biggie too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And Hegseth is very big on that. He doesn't, you look, none of them have women in leadership because women are too weak, too stupid, fill in the blank. You're not as smart as a man. You can't do it. That's their opinion.
We should, for anyone who, if you're not familiar with this guy, like I said, I was not familiar with this guy before. Got a couple other clips here that I can show that just kind of...
So let us talk about women voting, shall we? Back in the bad old days, before the 19th Amendment, the men were considered to be the heads of their households and represented their families at the ballot box. So what happened when their wives were granted suffrage? Let us take a typical presidential election to illustrate it, using the first one in 1920 after women's suffrage was accomplished, the election between Warren Harding and James Cox. If both the husband and wife vote for Harding, say, then what you have done is simply multiply the number of total votes cast for him by 2. And if the husband votes for Harding, say, and the wife votes for Cox, then what you've done is cancel out the voice of that particular household. Upon discovering how they were each going to vote, what would be the harm if the two of them just stayed home for a quiet dinner together in order to cancel out one another's vote that way? Where was the great progress supposed to be local?
He's really reaching to make this argument.
He interchanges the word household for man.
Yeah.
Remember that. Every time he uses the word household, it's about the man.
There's also a flaw in his logic. Well, here, let me play a little bit more of this.
Because like men who don't have families can't vote. So household is bullshit.
Right. Yeah, good point. But there's another flaw here. But let me just play a little bit more of this.
Has now greased all the BBs. Nothing coheres anymore. In the older system, the people were grouped in molecules, Burke's little platoons, some of them quite complex, and molecular societies are much more capable of resisting the demands of statism. So the suffrage movement was actually not taking up the cause of women, but rather was part of a long-sustained war on the family. The nadir of this kind of thinking says that a decision to abort a child is a decision between a woman and her doctor. The father of the child is stripped of any legal ability to protect the life of his own legitimate child. We need to retrace all of our steps in order to discover how a travesty like that could ever happen. And when we do, we discover that a lot of it started at Seneca Falls.
Now, the thing that I don't understand is about his logic. I mean, aside from obviously I disagree with his position, but there's something about how he gets there that I don't quite understand. So if you've got, because he uses this example, so if you've got two people in a household, if you've got a man and a woman who both vote the same way, you've effectively doubled the voting power of that household. Whereas if the two households vote differently, then they've effectively canceled out each other's vote. Like, look, I'm not good at math, but why does any of that even matter? Because what if you have
collection of votes that counts?
But what if you have two people in a household though? So if you have two people in a household and they both vote the same way and they both vote the way you want them to do, right? If you're a conservative and you've got a conservative couple and they both vote the same way, maybe you've doubled the voting power of that household, but in that case, that's a good thing, right? For you, if they voted the way you want them to vote. It's kind of like, so for lack of a better way of putting it, I guess what I'm saying is in response to his argument about doubling the voting power of a household and whatnot, who fucking cares? In the end, what does it matter?
It matters that women are having a power over a man.
Well, that's the thing.
Matters.
But he's not presenting it that way.
That woman's vote might cause the candidate that she likes to win. And if she's not going to obey her husband.
Well, that's what he means.
That word is important.
But that's not
going to obey her husband, then she's killing his vote because she's not obeying him. But when she is obeying him, she's giving him an abundance. But we don't want to allow either one of those. We only want the men to vote. Remember, he doesn't say that a man who doesn't have a wife and kids can't vote.
Right, of course.
He says household vote. A man is a household. A woman is not anything, right? unless she's under some man's roof, then she's part of his household.
Yeah.
The only exception to the rule is when a woman is allowed to be in her own head of household because her husband died. But you never divorce. Divorce is an absolute sin. And now broaden this. So this is where we are, right? And now we have a faith office in the White House, Christianity only. We have a task force that is supposed to weed out any anti-Christian bias.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a religious liberty commission. These things didn't exist before Trump because we recognized that
Some
in
of
this.
it. Well, we saw it
we
during
didn't have an
the
anti-Christian initiative, and we didn't have we didn't have a woman in the White House under this faith office who, by the way, thinks she can move a hurricane with a stick.
Paula White. Yeah, no, she's a lunatic. No, but I'm just saying though, like this isn't all new, because we did see some of this to a small extent during the George W. Bush administration.
Not like this.
And that's not like this, no, but that's part of the reason why, because if you remember,
I kind of find it offensive that you would, because I feel like Bush is an entirely different Republican than Trump.
Oh, sure, in a lot of ways.
I don't think that the aspects of that are similar in any way.
No, but I'm just saying though, the roots of this did pre-exist Trump.
Well, really, yes, it did. You got to go back further than that. You got to go back to Nixon and Reagan, because that's when we had prayer in schools.
Yeah, no, Reagan, yeah. Well, we never had prayer in public school. But
yes, we did.
There was a push for it. There was always a push.
I had it.
Okay.
I went to elementary school in the beginning of the day. We all did the Pledge of Allegiance, and then there was
in Massachusetts.
And then there was prayer time, and the Jewish kids and the Jehovah's Witness kids were in the hallway.
That really surprises me.
We're in the classroom. It didn't last long.
That surprises me.
It didn't last long, but that happened.
Okay. No, but my point was though that we saw a lot of this. The reason Christian conservatives, for example, they embraced W, but they never trusted his father. And the reason they never trusted his father is because Bush Sr. was resistant to the Christian right. He kept them at arm's length, whereas W embraced them. And he did have, I don't remember specifically, but he did have some faith-based initiative stuff going on during his administration.
It was little piddly things. It wasn't anything that was going to amount to somebody getting in trouble or anything. These guys are actually literally out to get people because they have the power now. Oh, you're anti-Christian. I'm going to sue you for, like, this is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just saying though, because
we're not supposed to have religion in government. Period.
I agree.
Discussion.
Agreed.
And when you ask people, like, this is the pastor that we're talking about is the kind of person who's leading these people that are doing these things.
Yeah.
Right. Who they want this country to have. What did he say? He wanted Jesus to be the head of the country, basically, was his thing. And he said that Muslim, what did he say about Islamic faith was, I don't know what he's, everybody else's faith is heresy, but their version of Christianity. That's literally outside the Oval Office now. And that concerns me. And when you say you're going to go target people that you consider anti-Christian, what does that really look like? How is that going? And is there anything going on that we don't even know yet? Like, because this exists. We know it exists. What are they doing?
Miriam Banish says in Texas, they had a moment of silence when she was there, 2003 to 2007. Yeah, I didn't know that was actively happening anywhere. I always hear Christian conservatives talk about that. Like, it's like a compromise. It's like, well, if you're not going to have prayer in school, how about a moment of silence?
You didn't have that? You didn't have the moment of silence thing either? We had that afterwards. For
we
a long time. We had Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence, announcements.
Just to clarify, though, so I went to a Catholic school, St. John's in Concord, from grade 2 to grade 8. Starting in 9th grade, I went to public school. It's possible there was some. I doubt it, though.
I think you missed it. I think you missed it because then you're only a year younger than me.
I doubt it was happening even in public school in New Hampshire, but it could have been. Maybe. It could have been, and I just missed it. It certainly wasn't happening because in 9th grade, I started going to public school, and there was nothing even approaching anything like that in public school in Concord when I was in public school. But there could have been something that I just was never exposed to. That's certainly possible.
When I was in one of the moves I had, what was it, 8th grade or 7th grade? It's the 8th grade. I ended up in a school where I was one of only 2 Jewish kids in the school. It was an overcrowded school. Back then, the schools were packed. And we weren't on half-day sessions where they used to do this thing where they alternate the days, but you could only walk around the school in one direction because it was that full. It was that bad. And at Christmas time, I guess they had always traditionally just had like Christmas stuff up. But now that they had 2 Jewish kids, and I made an offhanded remark once about, gee, I see all the Christmas stuff. How come there's nothing for Hanukkah? And all of a sudden there was. And I was like the pariah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we did a Hanukkah song, got added to the Christmas program, and they stopped calling it the Christmas thing not long after that and started calling it the fall concert or whatever, but it was called the Christmas. Like it, I think about that stuff and how uncomfortable it was. And then we moved so far past that, people expressing themselves and having their own face. And now here we are, and all of that progress is being completely stripped away, piece by piece. And I worry that this Christian nationalist, uber right wing is going to do irreparable harm that we can't undo. I mean, there's already so much going on. I mean, it's these belief systems that endorse the belief that we should pull people out of their car because they look Mexican and find out if they're really if they're here legally or not. And that we as a society had a long time ago said nobody in law enforcement should be able to, what was the word? I'm word searching here. What was the word for it when you highlight somebody, you're looking for a particular race? Profiling. Thank you. Yeah. Remember, that was a big deal. It was in the news, and they did away with racial profiling. We weren't going to allow that in law enforcement. Now we're encouraging it. Now we're encouraging it. And that certainly isn't going to affect the white Africana, but it sure as heck is going to affect anybody whose skin is slightly brown or anybody whose face looks slightly Asian.
Miriam says in the chat room, my autistic kid had his hands held down on the table because he was fidgeting during a moment of silence. So I assume this was back in Texas. He wasn't making noise or hurting anyone or damaging property, and they basically used a form of restraint.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And now that's being brought back up. I mean, you go further with Hegseth's belief system. They believed that not just they want the Constitution is one thing, but they want the 10 Commandments in every classroom, and they want prayer in every classroom. And every day should start with that. Every day should start with praising an idol and professing Christian belief. His version of, I want to clarify that, their version of Christianity, because there are a lot of good Christians out there that don't have these belief systems,
right?
Who don't believe that a woman should be stripped of her individuality and be melded under the man in her household, be it her father, her brother, her husband. And these people are in decision-making positions now that are setting laws that are literally putting people in jail,
right?
Or in concentration-style camps.
Miriam said in the chat, if someone isn't raised with religion, how would they choose the religion, the right religion? Well, that's the fallacy of it all. That's the base. That's the giant gaping logic hole in religion to begin with.
And let me dive into that little hole and add to that. As somebody who wasn't raised in religion, knew of things from different sides, it was very easy to fall prey to somebody who said, this is the way, the truth, and the light. Nobody gets to the Father by me. When somebody, is dearly beloved, he would say to us, Pastor Joel, dearly beloved. I was 17 when I started going to that church. And this man convinced me that this is the way to go. Yeah. All the women wore dresses, never pants. In fact, I got seen in a pair of jeans and I felt shame for being seen in jeans out in public.
Yeah.
Right? Because they made me feel that way. And the way the men carried themselves and the way the women carried themselves, especially.
Yeah.
As somebody who grew up with some serious issues and a really crazy ass bad childhood, and somebody who wasn't secure in her own femininity, to be around these women who are the ultimate feminine in skirts and frillies and only their wedding bands. And maybe, I don't think they wore any jewelry except the wedding band. That's the woman I'm supposed to be, and I'm not. What's wrong with me? My whole life was what's wrong with me? Why aren't I like?
Yeah.
And that was such an easy prey for, right? I was really easy prey. And I ended up carrying those beliefs for most of my life. And my own thoughts would be pretty bad if I caught myself sinning. And now they're running the country and they're changing our classrooms and they want the Bible in the classroom and they want the 10 Commandments on the wall and they want Christianity to rule over everything, including our government. And anybody who's Hindu or a Muslim or a Jewish or atheist or anything other than his brand is demon possessed. That's what he said. Demon, that pastor, and you've got, I think we saw the video. And you guys, there's plenty of videos of this. Yeah. That might be the one. I don't, or it might have been, no, it might not be, because it was one I was watching without you, where he literally said what's wrong with the world is this demon possession. So and that's part of what's right. So Democrats are demons.
Oh yeah.
What ideology is Satan's spew.
Right.
That's what there's no more, people. Democracy is people talking to each other.
I have a family member who sends me text messages that say things like that. Yeah. And in the same text message, he'll criticize me for my ad hominem attacks on the right while he's calling me a demon rat and saying I believe in,
and calling you a lot of other things.
All this other stuff. Yeah. It's kind of funny.
How one should talk to somebody you love is.
I do have one more video here of Pastor Wilson. I think we should grab this. Let's see, which one didn't I? Oh, this one I didn't play yet.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies? That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
I'm here as a working.
By the way, notice he said 3 or 4 or 5. Did you catch that?
Yes, I did.
Because a big part of their deal is have as many children as possible.
Yes.
Have as many children as possible. Yes. That's a big part of
the correct children. Now we got to give birth to the right children.
Yes,
not the wrong
exactly.
Children. That's why you have to get anybody who's brown out of the country.
Right. That must be right.
No, it's not automatically an issue.
Christchurch senior pastor Doug Wilson is the leader of a Christian nationalist movement that believes in a patriarchal society where men are dominant and women are expected to submit to their husbands. Josh and Amy Prince, along with their 4 kids, moved from Washington State to Moscow, Idaho, where Wilson's movement is based.
Do you see Amy as your equal?
Yes and no, in the sense that we're both saved by grace. We're absolutely on equal footing, but we have very different purposes, God-given.
But do you see yourself as the head of the household, as the man?
He is the head of our household. Yes, and I do submit to him.
So like moving here was
ultimately
your decision.
Yes.
That's a great example.
Wilson says in his vision of a Christian society, women as individuals shouldn't be able to vote. His fellow pastors Jared Longshore and Toby Sumter agree.
In my ideal society, we would vote as households, and I would ordinarily be the one that would cast the vote, but I would cast the vote having discussed it with my household.
Really? Yeah, I trust you.
Right.
I trust.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we discussed it. Yeah.
What if your wife doesn't want to vote for the same person as you?
Well, then that's a great opportunity for a good discussion.
There are some who have gone so far
because he's still going to vote his way.
They want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that. And I'd support it on the basis that the atomization that comes with our current system is not good for humans.
And Wilson, a veteran himself, is unapologetic about his view that women shouldn't be in certain leadership or combat roles.
Looking at the leadership page for Christchurch, it's all men. Do you accept women in leadership roles in the church and in government?
In the church, no.
Why?
Because the Bible says not to.
Well, that's not what happens in the Bible. Women do lead all the time.
Progressive faith leader Reverend Jennifer Butler is concerned about Wilson's growing influence.
He is rapidly gaining in power. He has hundreds of churches established around the country. They actually literally want to take over towns and cities, and they have access to this administration.
Wilson's highest level connection to the administration is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
We're standing on the shoulders of a generation later, the Doug Wilsons and the other.
So there you go. So yeah, so this isn't something where, we're just making assumptions or.
No, we're literally repeating what these people are saying. Like they're not hiding their crap anymore.
And Hegseth is all in. Hegseth is all in.
The past they used to say only behind closed doors are out in the open now because they feel emboldened and they have the power and they're getting away with it.
Yeah.
Unless,
Miriam says, I was raised vaguely Protestant and my dad was agnostic. My mom felt we should be free to choose what to believe. So I tried a few things. It was empowering. And what I found was that I didn't need it to be a good person. I like Unitarian Universalists because the idea is that the community is there to help you discover that best path for you.
And now there's a story out of this Doug Wilson church. And this, you guys can look it up on your own. The story that I read, and I'm just repeating what I read, is that he had a member in his church who was a pedophile.
Oh,
and
Miriam was just saying, yeah.
He had worked with this man who repented and was forgiven. And then the church helped him find a wife. And then they had a baby boy who he then assaulted the baby boy. And then he went to the church and confessed that he assaulted a baby boy, and because he confessed and repented, he was forgiven.
Oh, good. So no need to get the law involved, obviously.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Move along, move along.
He said he was sorry.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you gotta do.
That's all you gotta
Hey,
do.
God, I'm sorry. You kill somebody. Yo, God, we're all good, right? Hey, sorry. Yeah. So that's the belief. That's the belief. So this man, right? That this is the caliber of human. And if you, The Handmaid's Tale, nothing in The Handmaid's Tale that Atwood wrote was not something that had happened or is happening in this world. Every aspect of the society that she wrote about are things that actually happen, And in The Handmaid's Tale, men can do no wrong, and they still have their proclivities, their kinks, right? There's a place in the book where it's called Jezebels, where the commanders, the men, go and sleep with whatever woman is being kept there who is a sex slave. And then they go home to their dutiful wives and thump the Bible. That is what I see here. These Bible thumping, holier than thou bastards who dehumanize their women and their daughters. And anybody who doesn't believe their way is a demon. They're either demon possessed, he said, or I don't know if it was ignorant or something. But he basically believes that anybody that doesn't believe the way he does is because they're demon possessed. Like, for reals.
Yeah.
Like, they really do think that. So when they hurt somebody, they think they're hurting this demon.
Yeah, that's it's a good workaround. Yeah. Yep.
That's not about the hue. It's a demon.
Right.
He calls women cunts, harlots. Women are not supposed to be in charge because also they're devious. Remember the apple?
Oh, that's yes.
Women are devious.
That's where it all started,
and
right?
have a penchant for the evil side.
That must be where the word evil comes from. Eve. Never thought of that before.
Actually, I have to look that one up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I never thought of that till now.
But when you really get into those belief systems, it is very powerful and very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's being wielded against anybody who isn't one of them.
Yep.
Anybody who isn't going to toe the line of one of them. Like, if you're not the white heterosexual male that they want you to be, if you're supporting them, they're going to have you to dinner. Yeah. Ask a few people who are from Cuba how they feel about that, who had dinners with the Republicans down there. Vote for us. We're going to give you back your nation. And now you can see videos of them crying.
Cubans in Florida.
Yes, yeah. Because they voted for Trump. They believed everything they said. And now their loved ones are being deported.
Yeah, I don't have any sympathy for them, just for the record.
But I'm just saying, this is how these people operate.
Yeah.
You're a black man. Come on in. Come on, honey. Just make sure you marry your own kind. Because if you think that doesn't exist in this type of church, you're wrong.
Of course
you're wrong.
Yeah.
It totally does.
Absolutely.
And anybody who's not them is not equal to them. Think of a caste system, because that's basically what we're being set up into now. The uber elites are running everything. They're getting the tax breaks. They get shit tons of tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hardworking people, citizens and non-citizens, get money taken out of their paychecks long before they ever see a dime. And that money is now going into the pockets of the people that we're talking about. And they're going into the CEOs of these companies that make $20 million a year annual salary, never mind their perks and bonuses, Who the fuck needs $20 million a year to live?
Well, not only that, but look at people like Doug Wilson. You know, he lives very well. He's a very wealthy man. A lot of these religious leaders are very, very wealthy. That's why I you know, and again, I'll
these churches, some of these churches, $1 million church.
And you know, I get, and again, I get accused by a family member of being anti-Christian when I say this stuff, but it's like I'm actually not anti-Christian. I think Gandhi was right. You know, when Gandhi, I can never get the exact quote right when he said it's not your Christ I don't like, it's your Christians I don't like because they're so unlike your Christ. Or as a friend of mine used to paraphrase, I have a friend who passed away a few years ago, but he used to say his version of that was Christianity is a great idea. Somebody should actually try it, because, you know, these people so blatantly, so flagrantly, I call it ironic Christianity, you know, which is this version of Christianity where you say you love Christ and he's your savior while actively having as little to do as possible with anything Christ actually said or taught.
And or Christ-like behaviors.
Exactly. That's why, you know, I'm pretty skeptical about all of it, because I don't think any of these people actually,
what does Jesus say? For I was a stranger in your land and you fed me. For I was a stranger. There's a whole section of the Bible, and Jesus says, you know, you fed me, you clothed me, you housed me, you did right by me. And then he goes after the people on the other side and he says, for I was a stranger in your land and you did not feed me. And you did not clothe me. And he casts them down because they're not the real Christian. The real Christian is the one who brought them in. The real Christian is the one that goes over to the poor and feeds them and clothes them. And here's the kicker for you, okay? The whole thing about government doesn't want to do charity things. You know, we shouldn't have food stamps. We should have churches with food banks. That's the answer. We shouldn't have free things because the churches will do it. These are the churches, and they're not doing it. So the same people who are saying the churches should be doing it are the same people who are the leaders in these churches who won't freaking do it.
Right.
They just
I just wanted to say, to be fair, so when we talk about this, you know, we're talking about the churches that are obviously all about the money, or at least obvious to those of us who are looking at them with a critical eye. I just want to acknowledge that, you know, in communities all across the country, there are also small churches that actually do things for the community, like run soup kitchens and various charities and food drives 100%. And clothing drives and everything. So I want to acknowledge that too. I don't want to paint everybody with that brush. There are people who are actually, believe it or not, trying to do Christ's work in communities all across the country. And they need to be acknowledged and praised for that, because they're actually doing something good. So we don't want to paint with a broad brush, but we're talking about the charlatans who unfortunately are the ones who get all the media coverage, who are not doing Christ's work. Because my theory is they're atheists. I always say this about televangelists. There's no way they actually believe in God. Because if they, like people like Paula White,
themselves that they do. No,
I don't think it's even that. I have a different theory about that. I know everyone says that, but
I think they do.
I think they're full-on atheists. I'll tell you why. Because if there were any part of them that actually believed, wouldn't they be afraid of going to hell for what they do? I think they would. I think
they are.
No way.
They are. No.
I don't think
believe in what they're saying. And I lived in Kentucky. Years ago, I lived in Kentucky, and I worked in a real sweatshop, sewing factory. We made pajamas, and I had to sew sleeves onto these shirts, and you had to look at your machine. If you were caught looking at somebody else, you'd get yelled at in front of everybody and threatened with getting fired. No talking. There were multiple times that Friday would roll around and they'd tell us that the bank screwed something up and when our paychecks weren't there, or you'd go to the bank to cash your paycheck and it would bounce. There wouldn't be any money left in the account if you didn't get there fast enough to get your paycheck. But every Friday at 3 p.m., we were to shut our machines off and they would play Original Sin Doctrine sermon over the speakers.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to listen to it, you were supposed to go back to work. But if you turned your machine on and went back to work, somebody would yell at you that they couldn't hear the sermon.
Right.
These seem holier than, and they believed. Oh, did they believe?
No. I understand that.
They come out of the office and literally, there was one day they came out of the office and said to me, the reason we weren't getting paid was because the fax machine messed up the numbers when they sent it.
Yeah.
So I told them I knew how a fax machine worked and I went home with my paycheck. And I was told that I was to say nothing or I would be fired, and so would my husband. But these are the same people here. These guys make so much money off of the faithful, but they believe wholeheartedly that God wants them to do this. God wants them to have these things.
Just
these
to clarify, though,
for the hard work that they're doing.
It's called prosperity gospel. But what I'm just saying, I'm talking about the people at the very top, like Kenneth Copeland, Paula White, Joel Osteen. I personally,
Paula White believes in the shit she spews?
No. That's what I'm saying. I believe that they don't believe at all. I'm saying this is purely a business.
I'm surprised by that.
Did I say what?
That you don't think they're real believers.
You're surprised? No, I don't. I don't think. I am. Right. I don't think Paula White is in God.
I do believe she does. I do think she's a true believer. I think she so believes that she's been chosen by this power that if she gets a stinging in her foot, it's God's telling her something.
No. It's a business. It's a business to them. It's a business to them.
I will agree to disagree with you.
Who knows? I mean, who knows? I don't know. I don't know what goes on in their brains or in their hearts, but no, I don't. That's always been my theory. I'm talking about the really rich televangelists like Paula White, Joel Osteen. I don't think they actually believe that.
Church.
I don't think that they actually believe that there's a deity who's going to judge them when they die. Because if they actually believed that, wouldn't they be afraid to do it?
No. All right, let me say, I lived in Kentucky for 3 years.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about uber Christian.
Sure.
Like these people are Christians you've never met.
No, but that's not who I'm talking about.
But that's what I disagree with you there. These people are those people. They are those believers that carry it like a badge of courage, and they truly believe there's something magical inside them. When that woman stands out there praying and she believes that God is going to give her the strength to move a hurricane with a stick while she's speaking in tongues.
No.
Yes. Yes.
She knows it on. It's like she's a con woman.
No.
She knows.
No. They believe that shit lock, stock, and barrel. They'll fight you over it. They'll kill you.
She knows.
My father-in-law threatened to shoot me. He was going to kill. Like
sure.
He actually,
but I'm talking about.
He accused me of doing witchcraft, lighting. I've met these people. I've met some of these people who have a shit ton of money, and they justify it.
I know. Prosperity gospel. I'm talking about the people at the very top, though.
They believe. Oh no, I think they believe it. I think they're firm believers. I don't think.
You think Joel Osteen actually believes there's a God who's going to judge him when he dies?
Yes.
No way.
But he doesn't believe God's going to judge him poorly. They don't fear judgment. You got to understand something too, honey. A lot of these people believe that once in grace, always in grace. Once you're saved, you're always saved.
Right, which gives you a perpetual get out of jail free card.
Whatever you commit, you are always in grace. And if you don't believe 100% in that, you believe that once you repent, you're fine. As long as you ask God for forgiveness, you go to heaven. So no matter what you do, even if you come to believe that something you did was wrong, as long as you prayed on it and turned it over to God, left it on the altar.
Well, so do you believe that Trump actually believes all of his own bullshit, or is this a con?
No.
See, I apply the same. See, I look at Trump as the same way I look at these televangelists, because I also know that Trump is a con man, and he's just conned millions of people who are gullible enough to believe, to buy into the con.
He tapped in and realized
he uses their template.
There is, and how much power there is in that. Because if they stand in front of you with the Bible, it's preaching gospel, and preaching gospel means you're saying anything godly.
Yeah.
So Trump standing there with the Bible and saying something godly is God. This is God moving through him. Say believe it, locks. That's why he can't do anything wrong. Because God is directing it all, and there's a plan for it.
They believe he was chosen by God, no matter how horrible.
Only he knows what he. Yeah. You cannot understand the wonders of the Lord. Right. You have to put your faith and trust in it. That's
why MAGA people,
Trump
no matter
wanted to win. He wanted to win. He also wanted to stay out of jail. And he saw that these people latched on, and he realized that if he gave them the Christianity they were looking for, they'd be in like crazy all over him. And that's exactly what's happened. All he does is give them what they want, and they're happy, and he 100%. Keeps them, and he keeps their support and their favoritism and all of that. And that's all he cares about. I don't think he knows shit about the freaking Bible. Anybody who stands there and goes 2 Corinthians has never read the fucking Bible, because you don't even know how it works.
Well, my favorite clip of all time was when
Upside Down.
No, when who was it? John Heilman and who was the other guy? Rob Halperin. This was back during the 2016 campaign when they asked him after a debate, was he, if he had a specific passage in the Bible, and he's like, oh no, I like all of it. And they asked him, well, are you more of an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy? And he goes, well, I think I like them both equally. And it's he's so, but and yet these Christian conservatives, they're so easily conned by him.
And they like on very much to New Testament only. Old Testament was done away with, was fulfilled by Jesus. So you follow the New Testament. The Old Testament isn't needed anymore.
Well, but the Old Testament's the one. But they go to the Old Testament when it's convenient.
Of course, they validate shit. They'll validate stories or whatever using the Old Testament, but that's not how you live by. You live by what's in the New Testament and what Jesus said. So we're not doing burnt offerings.
No, they don't do that.
Carrying a Torah skull. We move to Sundays instead of Saturdays.
But they don't give a shit about. They don't give a shit about Jesus either, though. Like they don't. I mean, they love him and they accept him as a savior, but they don't actually care about anything he said or did.
Well, they do. They believe it. I'm living a godly life by following Jesus's teachings.
But they don't, though. They don't.
They believe they are. They firmly, 100% believe they are.
I think they kind of treat Jesus like he's like the drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. We love him. He's part of the family. But if Jesus wants to just go to bed now and not say anything else crazy, like, you should take care of poor people or not let children starve or something. We've had enough of that, Jesus. Why don't you just go on up to bed?
They just skip those parts that are inconvenient.
Well, yeah, of course.
I'm not.
It's all inconvenient.
They twist, take any section of scripture, hand it to 10 Christians, and they're all going to come up with they'll come up with 10 different versions of what they think it says.
Well, yeah, because it's based on whatever they want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'll justify my belief. I'll find a verse that justifies this one fits me. And that's how it works. I can justify anything I want to believe. Look at Doug believes that slavery was good for people. Doug Wilson is the one that said slavery was good for people.
That's a common narrative among his ilk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they believe that shit. And they justify it biblically. Because you're supposed to be good to your slaves. It's in the Bible. They were good Christians. They were good to their slaves. See?
Yeah.
That's real. These people, I'm telling you, these people will kill you for their belief. That's how strong the belief is. It is 100%. And everything you do becomes for God. It's that marching order. And they justify it. I believe that the vast majority of the fuckers think they're doing the right thing under their faith. But Trump is doing money. Hegseth, I think he might be fucked up and truly believe this shit because he's been a part of it long before.
Yeah, he might.
Trump's orbit. He's been a part of this a long time.
Yeah.
He took the portrait down of the first black woman to become I think it was an admiral.
I didn't know that.
He took stuff down in the Pentagon that had to do with women.
Okay.
If it was a woman, somebody who was gay, or somebody who was transgender, it got scrubbed. Because remember, when he first started scrubbing shit, the dumbass scrubbed the Enola Gay.
Because it had the word gay in it.
They scrubbed.
Too woke.
Too woke. But see, woke is now also making a building accessible for a disabled person to get in.
Oh, yeah. Well, anything, they don't even know what the word means. Just anything they don't like is
woke. And all Democrats are demons.
Yep.
I miss the days when people politically could disagree, but debate one another, work for the greater good of our country. Yeah. Because I don't want Trump to fail. He fails, my country fails. Yeah. I want my country to prosper.
You want your country to succeed.
Exactly. But what we're undoing decades of good works. Pulling special ed kids out of school and reinstitutionalizing them. Why are we doing this? Because they don't want kids to know how to work with disabled people, or they just want to I swear they want to take anybody who's disabled or special needs and just lock them away in a facility, because if you can't make them money and you can't serve them, you have no purpose on this earth for them. And these rich pricks live in a different world than us. You and I and all of probably 90% of our listeners don't live in the same world of these people. They don't shop in the grocery store like you do. They don't go to the same clothing stores that you do. They don't drive the way they don't do anything the way you do. Things are laid out for them because they're that rich. They set it up ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we have a greed issue in this country. That's what we have. When a healthcare CEO makes $25 million a year, or even $1 million a year, but you're going to raise the premiums and you're taking away dental care from people on Medicare because they use too much of it, the insurance they paid for, but because they use too much of it, because you don't have the money for their care, but you have money for multi-million-dollar salaries and payouts and 2 private jets. You won't fly with the peasants. These are the people running the country. On that part with you, I do agree. But I do think that Paula White is a real believer. Trump, no.
No, Trump definitely not.
He's a believer. Hexeth, I think he's a believer.
Hexeth, yeah.
And Paula White, I think she's a believer.
It's a business.
I think she.
No way. It's a business. All right.
But,
well, should we just about an hour and a half? Should we put a button on this one?
I think we can put a button on this one.
You want to remind people about your article?
Yes. My article is up on Common Dreams, and I have not put a link onto my website, but I will do that today. Please go to my website, which is jenncoffey.com, JENNCOFFEY.com. If you can see the screen, it's right there. Feel free to hit me up privately if you got a question, a concern, or anything you want to talk about. Check it out.
All right. Very good. Very good.
See you on the other side.
And by the way, everybody, please check out this weekend's radio show, the radio edition of the show. Of course, we do every Saturday at WMNH 95.3 FM. Of course, this version of the program has no direct affiliation with the radio station. This is a completely separate venture, the AF version of MCU. But we did have a great radio show this week. We had Superbug, New Age Phonograph, and Jamdemic on the show, and we had a great time. A lot of great music, and
I love
really
it.
enjoyed.
We are so spoiled and privileged to get to hear all the music that we get to.
Oh, by the way, a new name in the chat room, Carolyn Poole, who says, keep on keeping on.
Oh, Carolyn!
Someone you know. Excellent.
Actually, yes. Somebody close to my heart from my childhood.
Very good. Very good. And if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, you can go to mattconnerton.com, and you can get the, this will also, for those of you who joined us on the live stream, thank you. And for everyone else, this will, of course, be in the podcast feed as well. So please subscribe to Matt Connarton Unleashed on your podcasting platform of choice. And and if you are watching this live, I'll be back tonight at 6 p.m. with Eric Pilcher for Tough Bumps. That is the plan.
Got some wrestling going on.
That's right. All right. I guess that's going to do it for us for now. We'll talk to you all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.